Good morning, everybody. Great to see a lot of you popping on right now. If we haven't had the chance to meet, I'm Dr. Breggy and I'm the superintendent here in BHUSD. And I'm joined today by a lot of principals, teachers, leadership, cabinet, and even some of our board members have joined us this morning. So I want to start off by saying thank you so much for making time to be with us this morning. We do enjoy these sessions and we do want to encourage the attendance so that we can keep doing these because we do think that they've been really helpful. And thank you for your partnership. Just being here this morning shows that you want to support and get answers to questions, and we're just so happy to be able to provide this time this morning. Please be aware, just for some ground rules, that I just want people to know that the meeting is being recorded. There are a number of people that for one reason or another cannot attend a meeting, so we are recording these. We do want people to check back if they cannot attend, because we do feel like there's some valuable information that's being provided. If you do not feel comfortable being on camera, we understand. You can turn off your camera and you can indicate in your question in your chat that you prefer the moderator to read your question. So feel free to do that. The moderator today is Rebecca Starkins, and she is our Director of Public Relations here at the district. Your questions will be directed to the most appropriate person, and we may jump in. We don't want to be so formal, but we do want the person that's closest to the information or most responsible for the information to be able to provide that for you. We've allocated about 60 minutes or so for the discussion today, so 9 o'clock, 9:05. And to keep things on track, we just want to ensure that everybody has the opportunity to represent yourself and stick to the following structure that we have in place. And if everybody could just mute your microphone unless you are asked to unmute it, and you will be to ask your question. And you will be asked to just enter your question into the chat. Many of you have are very familiar with this format, so I apologize if I have to go over but I know I do see some new faces that are out there. Your question's not public, so you don't have to worry about that. It goes right to Rebecca Starkins, and you will then be called upon to unmute yourself so that you can ask your question. And if you have a follow-up, please just enter it right back into the chat box, and then Rebecca will call on you. Remember, this is for Beverly Vista Middle School. And so elementary school and high school, that's going to be later today. We have a very long but exciting day in front of us with this type of forum. So those types of questions, if you can hold on to those for those sessions, that would be great. And then I would also ask, because this often comes up too, if you have a specific question about your child, this may not be the best setting for you. So think about that before you send that off into the chat. So again, I just want to thank you for being here. I want to thank the BVMS administration and our PTAs for all of your support and for being here this morning. And then also thank you to Ms. Starkins, who has the difficult job of directing your questions to the people that have the most accurate and latest information. So again, thank you. Let's just jump right in.
Good morning, everybody. We are going to start with David Smiler. I apologize if I mispronounce your names. Will you please go ahead and unmute yourself? And I'm going to direct this question to our principal, Mr. Kevin Allen. Please go ahead.
Laptop, or will they also able to use their personal laptop?
Could you please repeat that question? It was a little hard to hear you.
My microphone may be softer. Can you just read? Why don't you just read it? It's probably faster for
Is that okay? Okay. So will students be able to use their personal PCs, or do they have to use the school assigned laptop? Mr. Allen, take it away.
All right, that's a fantastic question. And of course, students will be able to use their personal PC if they would like. I mean, that is certainly an option. We highly recommend or encourage families to use our school devices though. And the reason being if we have updates that we need to send out on any of our programs and the software that we're using as a district to support your child in their instructional program, we can actually send out those updates from a central location right here from our technology department. We can't do that if they're on their personal devices. The other thing that, another benefit of having the BHUSD device is last year we would hear from students that my camera is broken or this is broken or something is malfunctioning on their computer that won't allow them to fully participate in the class in the way that we would like. And if they're using a BHUSD device, we can actually turn that computer around in the same day or within 24 hours, getting them either a brand new device or repairing the device that they have. But if they're on their personal device, that may not be possible depending on repair shops and how quickly you guys can get out and access those repairs. So of course you can use your personal device. You just can't, we would encourage you to use ours. The one thing that you cannot use though, and I do want to emphasize this, is you can't use things like iPads and cell phones. Students must use a laptop or a desktop computer, no iPads or cell phones, because we don't want kids walking around with their devices. It's very distracting for the other learners in the classroom, and we want to make sure that we are providing as solid an environment for learning as possible. So I hope that helps.
Thank you, Mr. Allen.
Absolutely.
Question comes from Meredith Miller. Can I ask you all please to put your questions in individual chats, just because we're not going to answer them all at once, and some of you have 8 or 9 questions, and it's a little bit hard to direct them to the right person. So just pop them in individual chats and I'll be able to direct them to the right place. So Meredith, if you could please go ahead and unmute your microphone. I'm going to direct your question. Let's do the one regarding Wi-Fi. And is David D'Amico on the phone, or do we have, perhaps is Gretchen here? If not,
I'm here, yes.
yeah, great. So David D'Amico, he's our Executive Director of Technology. He's going to be able to help you answer this question. So Meredith, please go ahead and unmute your microphone and ask your question.
Hi, can everyone hear me? Okay, so I wanted to know, like, this is just going back to last year, because there are so many people on the internet, you know, with everyone being online for everything. We did have some technical issues with keeping Wi-Fi going. And what is the procedure for the school or the school district as far as if your child has a problem connecting during a class or thrown off because of just pure overuse of their Wi-Fi in their house, and are they, you know, does the school, is there some leadway with trying to get back on, you know, just being communicative, or how? I just was curious of how, like, what if it during a test or something and you're thrown off the internet, how does the policy go for that?
So you're asking a really good question. And we know that all of the carriers, Spectrum, AT&T, the home internet cable providers were challenged last year to make sure that there was adequate bandwidth for all the families, and the traffic varied, you know, depending on the time of day and the number of users and the kind of service you had. So we don't have a lot of control over all of that because those companies own those lines and own those services. Although we do have a Spectrum account as a district, we use Spectrum for our internet service provider, and I do have a customer service representative sort of dedicated to supporting our district, and I can, you know, I can make calls on behalf of families who are having connection problems, or you know, help get the customer service out to families a little bit more quickly than they might be able to do if they just called the Spectrum account team. But I'm going to be honest with you, it's challenging. It's challenging because you just said it. The whole world's using the internet. They're all using it at home. You have several people in a household all on online meetings at one time. One of the things that we've been encouraging families to do is just during the school day, be really aware of what else is sitting on your home network. So turn your Wi-Fi off on your phones. Anything that's using your Wi-Fi at home that doesn't have to be on during the school day, turn off. And one thing that students can do once they sort of check in the morning and teachers see them is they can turn their cameras off. That does preserve some resources. But if you have 2 or 3 kids in a household all on the internet at the same time, there may be some issues, and we're not going to penalize families because kids are getting dropped out of meetings. Usually, if they are dropped from a meeting, they can log right back in. And if the problem's persistent, you can reach out to tech@bhusd.org. And that will give us the opportunity to see what we can do on our end to provide some assistance. But I just have to keep just saying that we don't have a whole lot of power with these companies other than just to appeal on behalf of families who are trying to keep their kids educated and kind of guilt tripping them into helping us as quickly as possible. So I don't know, does that answer your question?
Somewhat. I mean, I understand what you're saying, and I appreciate that. My follow-up question is though, with the school policy. So if a teacher said, like we had great teachers, I'm not saying from experience, but I'm just saying in the future, like just to be aware, is there a policy where if your kid or a student gets dropped from a class or can't seem to log on, or we're having just technical issues, because I do have 3 kids in my home and also my husband is teaching online from our home, that we do have a lot going on in our home, and so is our whole block. But just to say that is the policy for the school per se, with the teachers, is it the policy given to the teachers that please don't
I'm going to interrupt you for 1 second. I'll follow up.
Yeah.
Follow-up questions in the chat, and I'm going to ask Mr. Allen, our principal, to answer that now. Thank you.
Sure. So
Okay.
I just want you to know that we do recognize that it's a little bit of a different situation, and we will absolutely work with a family and a student. I mean, we understand that these are kind of difficult times, and we will work with the family. I do want to follow up on the one thing that Mr. Demico said that he may not know that we have here. One of the protocols that we have for online learning at BVMS for this year is that the students have their cameras on, and the cameras must be on throughout the class. And the reason being is that it is very difficult to teach to a room full of just pictures. We want to see students, and we also want to be able to see by the students' facial expressions, whether they're getting it, whether they're understanding the content or not, or whether we need to go back and review. There's a lot that happens with eye contact between a teacher and kids that tells a teacher the kids are getting it or not. So we do have that protocol for this year. And yes, we will work with those families. So if someone gets kicked out during a test, please reach out to your teacher via email, and we will definitely work with you guys.
Thank you. Our next question comes from Rosita Jacobi. We have our District Director of Athletics, but I think also Coach Park is on the line. So feel free, both of you, to jump in for this question. Rosita, please go ahead and unmute your microphone.
Good morning, everybody. I have 2 questions. One is how are PE classes going to be handled during this virtual setting? And let's address that then, the second question.
So I just have to jump in and ask that we are taking one question at a time. So if you have a question, please pop it in the chat, but feel free to go ahead, Mr. Ellis or Coach Park.
Kelly, you want to address the PE question?
All right. Good morning, everybody. How are you? I'm assuming you can hear me. We're one of those families with multiple people on Wi-Fi right now. So with the PE, we've been talking as a department. So we're going to be creating the online classes. We'll meet with the kids, and then we're going to put them in breakout rooms with their activities, and we'll be monitoring them. So we'll say hello.
Miss Park.
Oh yeah, this is Coach Park. Can you guys, are you hearing me?
Go ahead. Someone unmuted themselves by accident. Please go ahead, Coach Park.
Okay. And so what the plan has been with the 4 PE teachers in the department and possibly the aides is that the kids will check in. we will see all of their bright, shining faces in their Zoom meetings to start the classes. And then we're going to be putting them in breakout rooms, and we'll be monitoring the breakout rooms during the direct instruction. So we may have like a yoga breakout room or something like that, and then we'll pop in and make sure all the kids are doing that. And so like Mr. Allen said, the cameras will need to be on, and they're just going to have to position their laptops or devices so that we can see at least some part of them live and monitor what they're doing during class. So that's generally what we've got going. Trial by fire, baby. We'll figure it out.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Our next question comes from Jessica Mia. Where do we get consent forms for online learning for BVMS? I can either direct this to Mr. Allen, or I would be happy to answer it also. Mr. Allen, do you want to go ahead?
So Mr. Waters sent out that consent form, I believe yesterday. It might have been actually on Monday. I will follow up with him to make sure that it went out. And if you would, please email Mr. Waters if you didn't receive one. And
I'll jump in and say, instead of emailing Mr. Waters, because our email boxes are just overflowing right now.
Good, thank you.
BVMS.bhusd.org. That's BVMS.bhusd.org. And you click on the green box on the right-hand side of your screen. You will see a little tab that says Consent Form -Distance Learning, and you will be able to access it right there.
I love it. That's good for me to know too, so I can direct people there as well. Thank you.
Fantastic. Okay, our next question. I am going to... I'm really sorry, Judith. I'm going to butcher your last name. Judith Manacheri. I'm really sorry. Please correct me if I'm wrong. I'm going to direct this question to our principal, Mr. Allen. But Judith, please go ahead and unmute your microphone. And please tell me how to say your last name. Judith, are you still with us? It's a question about working parents. I may have said your last name in such a way that you can't even feel identified. I really apologize. I'm going to move on to our next question, but please go ahead and unmute yourself if you hear me. Our next question comes from Carol. Oh, we have one. Nope. Carol Manzuka. Zuku, do you have a debate team? Just in relation to your debate team. So can you please go ahead and unmute yourself and ask your question? And I'm going to direct this question to our principal, Mr. Allen. Carol Manzoku.
I can answer the question though.
Please, yeah, let's do that. Go ahead.
If the question is, do we have a debate team? The answer is yes, we do, and that will be up and running. We'll get that started within the first month or so. Our debate coach works with the high school and the middle school debate students, and I'm not sure what it looks like in a virtual environment this year because we don't know what the tournaments are going to look like. But we ran our debate team all the way through the spring last year, even when we went to home learning.
And does that cover other clubs as well?
It is clubs, right, and the other clubs as well. So just so we will be running clubs as well this year. I will be sending out a call for clubs with our staff in the next week, and we are ready to pick up and allow our kids to connect with the school. Connection is huge, and our clubs and our debate teams and those kinds of opportunities are a wonderful opportunity to remain connected to the school while we're apart.
Fantastic, thank you. Our next question comes from Jeff Bills. He has indicated in his question that the moderator read the question. For the student Zoom orientation, were they recorded for later viewing? And if so, where do they find the link? Mr. Allen, can you please answer that?
Absolutely. We recorded yesterday a new video, and we sent it out this morning. So it should be in your email. If you look at your email, I probably sent it out about 20 minutes ago. And so you will have that in your email.
Great, thank you. Our next question comes from Benjamin Zisberg. Please go ahead and unmute your microphone. I'm going to direct this question to Mr. Allen, our principal.
Hello. I'm a little lost, to be honest. I don't know if school is going to be fully online or it's going to be part-time on the premises. So is it going to be fully online for this semester at least?
Do you know, yes, it will. For right now, we're going to be fully online because we are running with the state. The state has actually put out, the governor has put out a mandate that says we have to be off the watch list for 14 consecutive days. And once we're off that watch list for 14 consecutive days, we can begin to think about coming back in more of a hybrid model. It wouldn't just be putting all the kids back all at once. We would phase it back in and ease it back in. We actually have been working very hard as a district in putting those plans together. We are not just waiting for that to happen. We are putting those plans together right now so that we are prepared when that time comes. Believe me when I say that we are all looking forward to being back on campus together. I've been watching the kids pick up their books over the last few days, and we miss these little guys. We miss them a lot. And we come into education because we're people, you know, that connection with people. That's why we do what we do. And I can't wait until we're back with those kids. And I want you to hang in there, okay?
Oh, we're fine.
I know, just it's one of those things, and we will get there.
Thank you very much. And next question comes from Linda Carole. She's asked me to read this question. What is the expectation for class schedule structure in terms of students having classes every day according to the master schedule? Mr. Allen, can you please answer that? And before you do, Mrs. Marcus, I see your chats. I have had an iPhone coach reach out to you. I hope you can hear us. I see them keeping on coming in. He has called, so if your phone rings, please answer it. That's us trying to help you get sound. Mr. Allen, please go ahead.
Okay, can you read the question one more time, just so I know it?
What is the expectation for class schedule structure? Will students have classes every day according to that master schedule?
They absolutely will. And so the master schedule looks like on Monday, it's periods 1 through 4. On Tuesday, there's 5 through 7. On Wednesday, you'll have all 7 of your classes. And then school ends at around 2, I want to say 2:25, 2:30. I don't have it right in front of me. But, and then we have clubs after school as well, till 4 o'clock. And then on Thursday and Friday, we repeat the Monday, Tuesday schedule. So we are expecting kids to be in those classes every day and every period. I will say that for the first week of school, that's next week, we obviously do not have school on Monday. And so on Tuesday and Wednesday of next week, we're running a first week schedule. So on Tuesday and Wednesday, those 2 days, we'll be running the Wednesday schedule. Our teachers really felt strongly about seeing all 7 of their classes for the first 2 days of school. And so we will be running that Wednesday schedule on Tuesday and Wednesday of next week. And then on Thursday, we launch into, oh, thank you so much. So you can see that next week on Tuesday, we'll be running that Wednesday schedule, and Wednesday, the Wednesday schedule. Thursday and Friday of next week, we're back to our regular schedule. All right?
Thank you so much. Allen? Mr. Allen?
Yes.
Hi, this is Judy Manucheri. Sorry, I was dealing with a crying 2-year-old and they got kicked off a couple minutes ago. I'm sorry about that.
Not to worry, we're here for you.
Sorry, I butchered your name. Please go ahead with your question.
Rebecca, you did a great job. It's Judith Manucheri. I just wanted to have a better understanding of the logistics of how are the kids going to be accessing their classes.
That's a great question. So I will let you know that there's going to be a couple of things. First of all, on Friday, we're going to have all the teachers email their kids just to welcome them and to notify them, to let them know how they can let them in. But when you go on to your class schedule on Aries, you're going to look over to the side and it has a link. It says there's classroom links. So the link to your teacher's Google Classroom is on that Aries schedule online. Okay. And so just have them take a look at that and click. And that actually did come up. And so we are going to make sure that we send out emails. And Friday is going to be a big communication day to our families so that they are ready. And then we're going to repeat all of Friday's communications again on Monday so that everyone gets it multiple times so that you guys know exactly how to get into that classroom on that first day.
Okay, thank you. And then as a follow-up question, you know, there's the 2 late.
I'm
Oh,
gonna
sorry, Rebecca.
pop your follow-up questions into the chat because we have 100 to get to, and it's just fair for everybody to. I'm really sorry, just have one question, and then if we can get to, we will. Our next question.
Okay, thank you.
Not a problem. Our next question comes from Amy Sherry. Will you please go ahead and unmute your microphone? And I am going to direct this question about live streaming to our principal, Mr. Allen.
Hi, Mr. Allen.
Hi.
I wanted to find out if the kids are going to be able to see other students within their classroom while they're in their live streaming of classes, or will they only be able to see the teacher?
You know, they will be able to. Well, it depends on the view that they have set up on their Zoom. So if they have the Zoom set up so that they can see everyone, then, you know, it depends on the buttons that they click themselves, their own settings. Then they're going to be able to see all of their classmates. And then if they have just, you know, the speaker view, then they'll see the teacher or whoever is speaking. But I will say that our teachers are going to be using extensively breakout groups, small breakout groups. And actually we're working with them as a staff. We're practicing them all week long together so that we all know how to do this. But the kids will break out into small discussion groups, and we're, because as you can imagine, with a block schedule of 85 minutes, I mean, that's not a lecture. That can't
Right.
just, lecture will kill them. And so we will not be doing that. We are going to be breaking out into groups of small groups and discussions, bringing the kids back together, like kind of everyone talking about what they just discussed in their small groups. There's going to be, we're really looking to break it up into about 20-minute sections, that 85 minutes, just to get, it's the only way to keep kids engaged. The best classroom management is a well-planned lesson, an engaging, well-planned lesson. So that's what we're working for.
Thank you so much. My next question comes from Colleen Lynch. She has asked me to read the question. What are the expectations for the amount of hours for middle school students online daily, and will homework be encouraged to be completed during class time? Mr. Allen.
So, and you're going to help me if I butcher this, but it is my understanding that we have 245 minutes that we are required per day to meet from the state. We are well over that. That is a minimum. We are well over that. We are at, I want to say 255 or 65 minutes a day.
Feel free to lean on Mr. Seaman.
Yes, yeah. Mr. Seaman, are you on? Because I would love to, I know you've done the work on this.
Hi, everyone. So
Thank you.
ultimately, I'm going to kind of erase a little bit of what Mr. Allen was saying.
That's fine.
Yep. I'm gonna lean on what he had stated about a lesson plan is the best path for student engagement, and then obviously for student learning. And so ultimately, our teachers' expectations is that they are engaging our students in a variety of different ways from live instruction for the whole block period. There will be, due to the fact that our teachers are only seeing our students 3 times a week, there will be a level of homework, and there will be an opportunity during that block time for students to practice those skills so the teachers can then meet with them through different breakout rooms, whether in small groups or even some individual rooms for individual consultation with that teacher. So there will be some classes where there'll be built-in time for some of the practicing those skills, such as choir, possibly math as well. So it's a mixture, Mrs. Lynch, that it's not going to be just one answer fits all. It's our teachers are going to deliver an interactive daily lesson for all students throughout the whole block. And then there could be some opportunity for them to practice skills outside of that block. So, and some opportunity inside that block for them to practice those skills as well. But our teachers aren't going to log them in and then send them off. They're going to log them in and keep them there to be able to then meet with them either individually or in small groups to ensure that they understand and have mastered the content that they delivered through that instruction at the beginning of the period, if that makes sense.
One of our goals is to replicate as closely as possible in-class instruction and what in-class instruction would look like. And we really are working to replicate that as closely as we can.
Thank you very much. Our next question comes from Jamie Saltzman. Please go ahead and unmute your microphone. This is about recording classes, and I'm going to direct this question to Mr. Allen, our principal.
Hi, good morning, everybody.
Morning.
I wanted to ask if there will be, classes will be recorded in the event that there's an internet connection issue, or if your child's sick and unable to be in front of the computer the entire time.
So do know that we cannot record classrooms when there are students present. That is not permitted. And so but reach out to your teacher, because they may be able to provide ancillary materials that would give the same instruction and the same material, just in a little different way. But do know that we can't record when students are present.
Thank you very much. Our next question comes from Gregory Bell. I have been asked to read it. When will students be given login instructions and instructions on navigating from room to room? Mr. Allen, feel free also, if you have teachers and other people on the line who can answer these questions, to redirect them.
And I can't quite see who's on, because there's so many people. But as far as the instructions, I kind of addressed that a minute ago on how to get in through your areas. But the room to room, it's an automatic. So the teacher sets the rooms, and then the kids they automatically go out into their rooms. It populates those rooms. And then it also brings them back automatically. The kids don't get to like select to come back. It actually pulls them back into the big group at the time that the teacher has set. So.
Great, thank you. The next question comes from Gabrielle Levy. They have asked me also to read the question. There is an advisory period in 6th grade schedule. I heard it cannot be applied on the first trimester, but I was wondering if it could be used for the student to talk to a counselor about how it goes. If could help the kids to express their feelings or questions, please ask this question for me if you choose it. Thank you very much.
So it's not that it can't be applied in the first semester, but while we're in
trimester, do you want to clarify that, Mr. Allen, that we don't have trimesters?
Yeah, even trimester or semester, we have semesters at the middle school. But just to let you know that it's not that it can't be applied to that. While we're on Return to Learn, the online learning program that we have, we will not have an advisory. Having said that, though, our counselors are there and can meet with students, and they can pull students during other classrooms during maybe one of their electives. It might be that we pull them from a PE. We also have the period of time between 8 and 8:30 to be able to access kids. And then after school on Wednesdays, because it's an early release, we have that opportunity for counselors to meet. Counselors can meet with students during the student lunch, because counselors might have a separate lunch period that they may take their lunch at a different time. But we will definitely make time for counselors to meet with kids. And then our counselors will be also working with students on Naviance and some of our other programs this year through their curricular through their subject area classes. So although we haven't laid out the schedule yet, for example, it might be that we'll be doing one Naviance unit, and then also we're connecting with the Norman Aid Center and their themes as well. And so we'll be getting that curriculum, and it might be English during September. Those classes will be taught. And then maybe, and I'm just giving a for instance, October, it's within one math class for that month. But that's kind of what we're looking for to make sure we're addressing student social and emotional needs as well. Mr. Seaman?
Yeah, I'm going to jump in too. Thank you, Mr. Allen. What we're excited about this year is that for those that have had a high school student go through BHUSD, the high school has done a really great job of running a Norman Wellness Center. So they select social emotional learning topics each month, and then we leverage our great partnership with the Maple Counseling Center, which is local to Beverly Hills, and leverage even their counseling staff to be able to support our student social emotional learning. And so this will be the first year that we're able to, like Mr. Allen stated, extend now the Norman Wellness Center all the way down to 6th grade. So our students 6th through 12th grade will not only be learning about the same social emotional learning topic each month, but also have access to the Maple Center in addition to their own school counselors. So even when we return back to the physical locations of BVMS, you'll start to see we're going to start to create and build out kind of a Norman Aid Center, Norman Student Wellness Center, like program at BVMS as well. So there'll be additional hands on deck to be able to support our students social emotionally coming this fall. Well, starting in a couple of days.
Thank you very much. Our next question comes.
Can I really quickly, there are 3 teachers online that I want to make sure I recognize and I want to introduce, and they are experts in their field. Mr. Elitzer, Mr. Ron Elitzer. Mr. Elitzer, can you just say hello? And I'm going to be, now that I see that you're on, I'm going to start hearing some questions. Mr. Elitzer?
Good morning, everyone. It's nice to see all these familiar faces, and I'm looking forward to meeting some of the new parents too next week, hopefully. Thank you, Mr. Allen.
Thank you, Mr. Elitzer. All right, Miss Long. Miss Long, I think I saw you on there.
Yeah. Hi, good morning, everyone. Good morning, BVMS families. I know that you guys are all probably just as anxious as we are, and we will take care of each other. We will take care of your kids. We will show them what they need to learn. Be patient with us. We'll be patient with them, but it's going to be a good school year.
Fantastic. We've got this, right? And Miss Burcham, are you here?
I am here. Good morning, everyone. Yes, it's so nice to see familiar faces. I'm so excited to meet all of your children. I wanted to add on to what Mr. Allen was saying about the interaction in the breakout rooms. A lot of the wonderful technology that we've been learning encourages student interaction. So whether it's quizzes or Jamboard, there's lots of ways that children are going to be able to interact with each other, not just talking, box to box, but interacting through the curriculum. So I've learned so much this summer, and I'm really excited to apply it in the classroom.
Thank you, Ms. Burcham. And I want to encourage any of the 3 of you to just jump in if you hear something that you can actually expound upon as well. All right.
I would actually like to jump in. I think Amy Sherry, you asked a great question about students connecting with each other. And for all parents, and to answer your question directly, just like Mitch Burcham said, a lot of us teachers have been meeting within our own little cohorts to try to figure out and brainstorm ways to create a community sense in a classroom in a digital format. So having a sense of connection and belonging is definitely something that we are going to be pushing and working on as we start this new school year online, especially if you have a child that's new to the district and maybe doesn't have friends, or a new 6th grader coming in. This is obviously not how anyone would ideally love to go back to school, but it's the safest way to go back. So it's all part of our game plan to make those authentic connections in our digital classroom.
All right, thank you. All right, Ms. Starkins.
Okay, I still have about, I would say, 15 questions questioning clubs and how clubs are going to work. And in the interest of time, because I do see that we have 20 minutes left, Mr. Allen, can you just take us through that one more time?
I will.
Are we offering clubs? How do we sign up for clubs? What are we doing about clubs?
So, okay, here's what it's going to look like. I am going to be sending out a call for clubs to the staff, and the staff will be able to sign up for the clubs that they would like to sponsor. Last year, I know that Miss Long and one other teacher did our women's club, and it was fantastic. And we're looking at probably an art club, and it's a call for clubs. So teachers will be able to sign up. Once we have our list of clubs, then we will be sending out the signups for students to be able to sign up. Art, you may be thinking, how do clubs work? I mean, what do clubs look like? And I'm going to let Ms. Long speak to her club and what that might look like if they were going to do it in a digital sense. I can speak to things like art or robotics. We will be sending home kits. So our students will be able to come up, pick up a kit of all of their art. And so let's say that Mr. Lisco is going to be teaching watercoloring, how to do watercolor this week. So he will send out an email to all the kids in the art club. Hey, students, we're going to be working on watercolor this week. You're going to need these supplies. And you'll have it all ready. The students will be ready for their watercolor lesson on Wednesday afternoon with Mr. Lisco. And I do want to say a huge thank you to our PTA and our Education Foundation. They are both responsible for providing us with the staffing for clubs and the materials for clubs. And we could not do this without both of those organizations. So please, 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 parents, remember that when you support those organizations, you're supporting our ability to provide students with these enrichment activities outside of the regular academic day. So thank you.
Great. Our next question, Heather. Amy, would you please go ahead and unmute your microphone and ask your question about the ILC and clubs?
Yeah, I was just wondering if children who are in the ILC for the full semester will be able to participate, especially when they're online, in clubs and any other community event, and how will we be notified of those?
Great question. So for any student that's participating in the Independent Learning Center, they absolutely have access and the right to participate in any club and then possibly sports down the road. So by design, the Independent Learning Center multiple student tutoring and those middle school sessions will predominantly run in the morning. That will provide the opportunity for them to participate if there's a club or activity offered during lunch, also then after school. So the way that they'll receive all that information is the teachers are still tied to BVMS. So some of our ILC teachers are current and will still stay current BVMS teachers. So they'll share out that information in the individual sessions. In addition, we will also be providing information about BVMS throughout the multiple student tutoring sessions. So if there's a PEP assembly, we're going to encourage all of our ILC students to attend the PEP assembly. So they really are BVMS students. They're just working through the Independent Learning Center throughout the fall semester.
They are bulldogs, and we want to make sure that they are recognized as the bulldogs that they are. Please make sure that they're checking their Gmail. We are telling all students to make sure they check their Gmail every day, their district Gmail accounts. Yes, that's right. Their BHUSD Gmail account. Thank you. That's very, very important because that is a conduit for communication with the students and the parents. So.
Great, thank you. Our next question comes from someone you should all know and love, our BVMS PTA President, Mrs. Tina Weiner. It is for Mr. Ellis about cross country. Please, Tina, go ahead and unmute yourself.
Okay, thank you so much. I'm so happy to see everybody here. I also just wanted to answer the question about the ILC families staying in touch. And please make sure that you sign up for the newsletter, for the PTA newsletter, because we're going to have all of that information in there as well. So that is your one way to stay connected with everything that's happening. Come to our PTA meetings. You are such a big part of our community. And we have 2 parents on our executive board who are ILC parents and families. And so you are represented. And we want to, this is our way to make sure that we're getting the information to you that you need. So thank you. So my question for Mr. Ellis is about sports, and we had such a great time last year with our teams, and I just was wondering if there's any chance of even starting up like a cross-country team, which seems like wondering if we could do training maybe online, stretching, starting out, and then send the kids out to run, and they can kind of monitor their own progress, or they can show it through their phones. So just wondering if there's even a possibility for something like that.
Good morning, all, and thank you for letting me be here today. Thanks, Tina. That's a great question. Yesterday, Dr. Brady and myself spent a couple of hours discussing the county health plan, which has allowed for some sort of sports to be reintroduced, some kind of conditioning and those kind of things. And so we were trying to map out a plan in terms of, hang on, I lost my Zoom here. In terms of what we could do for our kids at the high school and at the middle school. And I think what we're looking at right now, I talked to Todd and Kelly early on, and I think they're gonna try to incorporate some of that stuff within their PE classes in terms of those kinds of things. FIYA, the company or the organization that we ran through last year, which you're very familiar with, hasn't come back yet and said what they're gonna do. They're kind of in a holding pattern like everybody else is in terms of that. CIF, I'm not sure if you know, came back and they're starting their fall season in January and their spring season in March. So everything in terms of the high school has been pushed back to January. So right now we're working on a plan to make sure if we do and when we do bring our kids back onto campus or put them in front of a coach, that we can do it safely, following all the protocols of distancing, masks, all those areas. But yes, that's a great point. We can incorporate those kids getting some running time in on their own and provide programs for them. Hopefully that answers your question. And again, and I would like to thank you guys for all you did for us last year, because it was amazing. So, and moving forward, we're going to add a couple things to the program this year, and so we're real excited.
Thank you so much. Our next question comes from Andrea Clark. Please go ahead and unmute yourself. I see you've asked a couple of questions. I'm looking at the one about teachers only seeing kids 3 times a week. I'm going to direct this question to our principal, Mr. Allen. Andrea, please go ahead.
Hold on one second. Actually, I'd like to ask the other question. Is it possible? Because I think he addressed that one.
Sure, go ahead.
Okay. The teachers are on for 3 times a week, and you're going into the breakout sessions for, I think each class is an hour and a half. Good morning, everybody. I just want to make sure, are the teachers on for the full period, or is it going to be independent? I understand they're going to be working in groups, but the teachers, are they on for the whole periods, or some will be video taught and then themselves, or are the teachers on?
You know what, I'm gonna ask some of our teachers if they would like to talk about like what this looks like. And
thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Andrea. It's good. I can't wait to see you guys, by the way.
We're
okay. Would one of our 3 teachers like to talk about what we're looking at and what we're envisioning for our classroom structures?
Sure. I can begin and then pivot to my colleagues on this call. To answer your question, Andrea, yes, teachers will be on the entire period. This is not a model where we intro to our students and then we just leave them alone. That's the opposite. Some of us maybe are remembering when we left from the spring semester, we were in triage mode, trying to figure out how to adequately meet the needs of our students in this new crazy world that we were living in. And teachers ourselves, like some of us are parents and we're dealing with our own things here in our families. But no, for the fall, the MOU is very clear of what the expectations are for the teachers. And I can speak for myself only. I cannot wait to see my students. I cannot wait to meet them. I cannot wait to, I love teaching and I love my kids. And I want to spend as much time with them as possible. So even if the class for 85 minutes is structured with like an introduction activity, then a direct teaching strategy, then maybe a practice in a breakout room, then we all come back into the main room to digest and discuss, we as teachers will constantly be checking into the breakout rooms, which is a feature of Zoom. So the district has been kind enough to give us a professional account for Zoom. So we don't have the time limits of just 45 minutes. We have other features on the back end, on the administrative end, where we can take over the board, push out videos. Our ViewSonic training also exposes to a lot of new cool tricks and features that we can use with the students, where they can even interact with us and push images to us as we explore what this new classroom will look like. Many teachers, myself included, have been learning different modalities of implementing digital instruction. And so I'm kind of excited to show all the kids all the tricks that I have in my toolkit without overwhelming them. And anything that we want them to use, of course, we will show them how to properly use it, which actually speaks to a question earlier about personal devices versus district devices. I am a Mac, not a PC. So I use my Mac for school, and then I have my PC issued device with me as well. But in the sense that we want all kids to have access to the technology that we're pushing out. So if a personal computer support the technology, you might consider using the district. But teachers will, long story short, long answer, teachers will absolutely be monitoring students the entire time. We will be with them that entire time period. And maybe even some homework might be structured into that depending on the lesson for the day. So
thank you. That's great. I just want to piggyback. You just mentioned about Mac. My son had a fantastic teacher last year. They did Mac. So when they did their test, they could only fill in their questions, and the teacher used a Mac and my son used a PC. So I just want to throw that in. We can talk about that later, but just FYI. Okay, go on. Thank you. And what do you teach? I'm sorry.
So I am, yes, that's a great question. What do I do? I am the 8th grade social studies teacher, so I'm one of 3. I teach right now exclusively, almost exclusively, US history, and then I'm also the current events elective teacher, which is a 7th, 8th grade election just because of the content matter that we discussed, and that's a 1 semester class. So I will have a big group of 8th graders, which I'm really excited about, and then even some 7th graders sprinkled into my classes. And I actually just looked at my roster. There are a couple of kids who I had last year taking my elective again, so they must have liked it. But I will pivot to Ms. Burcham or Mr. Litzer, who can also answer how they are going to handle that.
Also, can I just mention that Katie Carter is with us, a math teacher at BVMS, so feel free to jump in also.
I did not see her on there. Great. Good to see. Ms. Carter, do you want to say hello really quickly so we can see your shiny face?
Hi, I am Katie Carter. I teach math. I've been in the district a really long time. This year I will have your 6th graders coming into my math class. I'm super excited about a great year.
Oh, thanks for joining us.
So our next question, we have said again and again and again that we wouldn't take anonymous questions. There is a lot of really personal information that's student data that would be inappropriate to be shared in this forum, but it's an important question, and I am going to summarize it and ask Laura Chisholm, our Assistant Superintendent of Student Services, to answer it. So Laura, if you could please unmute your microphone. The question is about incoming students from another district and how they obtain an IEP. Could you address that, please?
Sure, thank you very much. So if they are coming in and they don't have an active IEP, the first step would be to go through the student study team at the site, and they will work with you to look at your students' current performance, put some strategies in place to see if they actually can respond to those strategies, and if not, then they'll move them forward to a referral to testing for special education and related services. So your first step is to contact your site administrator, either Mr. Waters or Jean McCrae, and talk to them about getting a student study team started for your student.
Thank you.
The grade level administrators, Mr. Stern is for 8th grade, 7th grade would be Ms. McCrae, and 6th grade is Mr. Waters.
Okay, our next question, thank you very much, comes from Rusty Benagas. She has asked me to read this question. Do kids need to attend PE? Obviously it is virtual, but I would rather it was outside. So
I have to go to work. I'm
So I remember it was kind of overcast. Yours is nice and sunny.
Okay, let's try again. Do children need to attend PE? Coach Park or Mr. Ellis, can you please jump in for us?
And it's not sunny.
I'll take that question. Yeah, the kids are going to be doing PE. We're going to ask them to, be dressed not in their pajamas for physical education during their period. They need to, be in their shoes and that kind of thing. So one of the things that has really come up in our meetings with the county and that kind of thing is the idea of just equitable space. So what we're going to be asking kids to do is find the space that they have, because obviously with the kids being at home, they don't all have equal access to equal space. So we'll be putting them there, and the idea is they take their laptop, adjust the camera, we'll be guiding them through the lessons, whatever we're doing for that day, for the first 45 minutes of the class. And then obviously the heart of a PE teacher is for us to get them up and away from sitting down at the computer, minute after minute after minute. So we'll be using some of our time to send them, hopefully outside so they can get moving. And again, we can monitor them just by them taking their phones or devices or something outside. So we definitely want to use PE time kind of as a two-pronged idea. The structured lesson, but we have to get them up and moving. It's a health issue. It's a mental health issue. It's a physical issue, especially during physical education. So we'll be working through that to help them find some space to be out and away from the computer during class time.
Thank you, Coach Park. Our next question comes from Annie Jang, and they would like me to read their question. During the online learning last year, we were surprised by the heavy homework load for students, which had a negative effect overall on my child's attitude towards online learning. This year, will there be an effort to limit homework for each class to be more manageable at a different level for students? Mr. Allen, do you want to take that one?
Sure. And then any of the teachers might want to jump in if you want to fill in any blanks. But for the way that we're kind of envisioning this is that homework is going to be, should be meaningful and support on classroom learning. And so we will try, we are aware that this year kids are sitting in front of a computer all day long. Last year, there were shorter stints of time, and there were days off. Literally, they were on the computers for 2 days, and then 3 days that they were not. And so we really felt like there were other times that they could complete that homework. But this year, we are aware that the kids are on the computers all day long, and we as adults don't want to sit on our computers all day long and then have a ton of work when we're finished at the end of the day. So we will really work this year hard at limiting the amount of homework and then making that homework that we do assign incredibly productive to preparing for that next day's lesson. And we have some ideas around that. We are definitely addressing that. Any of the teachers want to kind of jump in and talk about that or have any thoughts?
Hi, the only times in the past that I even assigned homework was when the kids were working on a major project, and that's something that they had 2 or 3 weeks to work on. But I really don't see myself assigning any more work, like Mr. Allen said, after the kids are spending all those hours online every day.
I agree that we are very conscious of the screen time. The only homework that I will be assigning will be reading, because a kid can never read too much, and because reading doesn't have to be digital. I know that some children choose to use a Kindle, but lots of kids like good old-fashioned books. So that's the only time that I will be asking kids to do work outside of class. And as Ms. Long mentioned earlier, we are building in that homework time in class. So they'll still get the practice that they need, but we're going to try to condense it so that the kids are not tied to a screen all day.
Yes, I echo my colleagues. The less time they need to be in front of the screen, the better. Homework is in my classroom is assigned on a need basis. And for this fall, I can imagine it as a continuation of something that we started in class already. And if they didn't have time to finish it within that class meeting, they could finish it later. Another thing to consider is because we now have blocks, we will not see the same classes every day. So you will have more time if homework is assigned, or like Mr. Litzer said, a long-term project, maybe something that they have a week to complete. You get started in the first 2 classes, you finish your own. They will not have that homework. So for instance, if I have my students period 1 on Monday, I don't see them again until Wednesday. So if any homework was to be assigned for period 1, there would be now 2 days to complete it. But we hear you, and we feel that same fatigue, the Zoom fatigue of being on a computer all day long. So we will definitely be keeping that in mind for all parties involved.
Ms. Carter, did you want to add to that? And thank you guys so much.
I do. I want to say that because I teach math, practicing math every single day is really important. So yeah, we're going to have some homework in which they're going to practice their math skills. Hopefully it will be a limited amount, but I want to encourage parents and more importantly students that if students are really struggling with getting the homework done, or it's taking up too much of their time, or they're really exhausted from being in front of the screen all day, that you reach out to the teacher and let them know, this is just really overwhelming for my kid. Please tell us that. That's something that we want to know and we want to help your kid with. It doesn't, we can't help your kid if we don't know what they're having trouble with. So please reach out to your kids' teachers. Or have your kids reach out to their teachers. Help them to advocate for themselves.
Thank you.
That's a very, very important point, Miss. Good.
Fantastic. Okay, so I am aware of the time. It is 9:03. We're going to take one final question, and then I'm going to hand it back to our superintendent, Dr. Breggy. Bridget Smith, will you please unmute your microphone? And this question is for Mr. Seaman regarding the ILC.
Hi there, thank you. What I was wondering is if you could walk us through like a sample day of what ILC would look like for students.
So the Independent Learning Center is obviously, the first word is independent. So it's hard for me to be able to walk you through a ideal day because each student will have a different schedule. So a typical student will have a assigned teacher that will be reaching out either Thursday or Friday. Each teacher carries about 25 students on their caseload, and they will be reaching out to those families to welcome them to the Independent Learning Center. During that welcome meeting, they'll be setting their individual time. So their individual meeting where it'll be one-on-one, and that could be at 8 a.m. on Tuesday every week for the whole semester, or it could be Friday at 11 a.m. So it'll be worked out between the family and that teacher assigned. For the middle school, however, every morning, or not every morning, but Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday from 10 till noon, there is a multiple student tutoring opportunity. And each day there's an individual subject covered. So on Monday is math. And so the student has a 2-hour block opportunity to be able to have access directly with Donna Kang, who is our math teacher in the ILC for the middle school. And she will be working with individual small groups, individual students, utilizing Zoom's power of being able to move students around. So students that are in like math subjects can also share information and help tutor each other. On Wednesday is science, which Ms. Curtis will be leading that. On Thursday is English, and on Friday is social studies. Mrs. Klecko will be leading those. So those 4 days, during that time, there will be no individual sessions because we encourage our middle school students to participate. They'll be able to engage with other students. They'll see other students in the multiple student tutoring. And also they'll get information like Ms. Sweener had stated around what's happening at BVMS, and what Mr. Allen had stated as well. We'll be addressing, here's an upcoming PEP assembly. Here's also information on clubs, how to sign up for clubs. So there'll be a little social emotional learning inserted into the multiple student tutoring sessions as well. So if you were to take full advantage of the Independent Learning Center, your student will have an individual session with their assigned teacher. In addition to, they can also attend the 8 hours of the multiple student tutoring outside of the individualized work that they'll be doing on their own. If that helps.
Thank you. Oh, that was perfect. Thank you so much.
Ms. Starkins, right before we turn this over to Dr. Breggy, I just want to say to our community that I know that this is a kind of an unusual, well, not just kind of, it is an unusual way to start the beginning of a school year, but I want you to know, as you've heard today, that our teachers have been working so hard to prepare for your kids, and we are excited to see their faces in our classes every day. And we have, we've coined a phrase at our school that we're putting on all of our paperwork and all of our emails, and I'm going to say it because we believe it, and that is, we've got this. And it's going to be a great year because together, we as a community are going to make it a great year. And so we've got this, everybody.
And thank you very much, Mr. Allen. My words exactly just echo what you just said. I hope that you realize after meetings like this today that you can see that the wraparound support that we have for your children that you've heard just today start with in the classroom, and then outside of the classroom to the larger school area with the administration, and then also with your PTA organizations and BHEF, to even the district office and the contributions that we were able to make today. And I want you to be assured that every single day I'm reaching out to the LA County Department of Public Health. We're going to do this right. We do want our kids back. We do want everyone safe. And it's an ongoing thing. There's a lot that's going on behind the scenes. I know that our teachers have been so busy this summer. No one has had a summer. Everybody has had day one in mind. and the type of training and the technology. We are in a different place today than we were in March, and we're very excited, and we're all better off for it. We're excited to be able to move forward. The questions today were outstanding, and thank you. These opportunities, they go by so quickly, but I feel like there's a lot of learning that's happening. Thank you for participating today. We do look forward to seeing you again. Perhaps some of you we will see at the elementary and also the high school virtual sessions later today. And thank you also to Ms. Starkins for moderating, and I look forward to seeing all of you soon. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you, everyone. I did see a final question about whether attendance will be taken. Yes, it will. Please be sure your kids are there. Bye.